think that when women make decisions later on in life, they make better decisions for themselves. They don't get trapped into big decisions as easily, from career to marriage to children. Sort of like postpone those things just for a little bit and let life reveal itself to you. Like, let your personality reveal itself. Let your needs reveal themselves.
We're going to get right into it. Tell us about yourself. Where did you grow up? And what is one of the first life lessons you remember making?
So I grew up sort of near upstate New York. But I really feel like I grew up more, I'd say, like in the New York City area, even though I'm not a native New Yorker that way. But because I went to college there, I interned there, and I've had a full-time job there since. So I think both sort of influences have, growing up near Hudson Valley has had an influence on me, but also being in the city and sort of like that hustle culture is like, I can identify with both sides. My first early lesson, I would say, to run your own race. There's this really great, I'm forgetting the name, but I think it was like, I'm forgetting who wrote this essay. It's this famous essay. I think it was published in the Chicago Tribune many years ago, probably in the 90s. My mom sent it to me on my high school graduation day. And it's this, it's called Wear Sunscreen. That's what it is. It's called Wear Sunscreen. I don't know who writes it. The woman's brilliant who writes it. But she basically is talking about how, like, you are, like, don't compare yourself to other people in life. Like, you will always be running your own race. And it's like so funny that my mom sent that to me, sort of understanding that I was probably going to run my own race at some point. And I was just 18 years old. And I never forgot that. It's like one of my best lessons. And so I've very much taken that to heart, obviously, many years later. But really, the line is all about running your own race and getting comfortable with just doing things differently than other people. It's an incredible essay. Highly recommend just you listen to it. And there's like a great YouTube video on it too. And they sort of like do like a whole like intro background. There's graphics, there's music. It's a really beautiful essay.
I feel like that's the perfect sort of lesson that your mom was trying to make sure you understand before you go to college.
100%.
Like, do your own thing.
Exactly. She knew. She knew.
Okay, I love that. Thanks for sharing. And so you're the creator or the founder of Rules of 30. I remember I was on Instagram scrolling and I saw one of your videos. I think it was talking about sort of being comfortable with your own timelines and like not comparing yourself. And then I went through your profile and I was like, how is she in my head? Like, this is everything I try to tell people or tell my own friends or conversations I have with my own sort of people that I connect with. So sort of talk to me about what inspired you to create Rules of 30, like, and who are you trying to help by that platform?
Yes. Well, thank you for the plug and then the shout out. That was exactly the feeling that you got where you came across my profile and you were like, I feel like this person understands me. I feel like this person sees me, is the exact feeling that I want to evoke when a woman in her 20s and 30s is coming across my account and feels like they are behind or feels like they aren't doing things the correct way or feels like their path is not making sense. I wanted them to come to my profile and really see it as a safe space, a place of inclusion, a place where I see you and I advocate for you and very much can like want to protect that way. And I love my community that way and very much feel very indebted to how much we can all share that way. I think it's a very open community as well. But when I started this account, it was really just documenting my early 30s. And I just wanted to share thoughts that I had around the changing, more modern womanhood, I would say, and what women are thinking these days in terms of getting married, having children, following their career paths, following their passions, trying new things, moving places, pivoting, which is huge. And what I talk about very often, I'm a huge pivoter, very impulsive, but huge pivoter. And so I just wanted to document my journey and the thoughts that I had surrounding my 30s. And at a time that feels like many women are like, my life is over, or post 30, what is going to happen? What does life look like? I feel like I should have figured out so many things by then. And I think the shift that I felt in my 30s was I actually feel like I have a lot of time. I actually feel like I'm way smarter than I was in my 20s, and I can use all of the sort of mistakes and learnings that I had in my 20s and apply them differently in my 30s. And so what started out as just a personal journey that I felt really proud of and I wanted to share, turned into I think, advocacy for women in their 20s and 30s, especially women entering their 30s, who are very scared of this new stage and are unsure of how to navigate it. And what I hope my account does is provides tools, resources, community, advice, tips, sort of a framework for not necessarily how you should be living your 30s, but feeling comfortable with choosing whatever path is right for you in your 30s.
I love that. That makes sense. And I totally got that from just your page, exactly everything you're saying right now.
Yeah.
And you touched on a really good point, which is a lot of people think sort of their life is over before they turn 30 or when they turn 30.
Yeah.
I saw this video where someone was like, guys, Carrie Bradshaw was 32 in the first season of Sex and the City. And she was just starting out, like showing us the ups and downs of dating and friendship. And she was 32, like she wasn't in her 20s. So what are you hearing from people? Or do you think people are still, the turning 30 still has that same fearful feeling that we used to get maybe years ago? Are people getting more comfortable? Or how would you tell people who are scared of turning 30 to look at it instead?
Yes. I think the conversation around 30s is shifting, which is such a good thing. And at the same time, I think it opens up two different, like, it's very empowering that we are now having tons of conversations about women maybe doing things later, getting married later, having children later, if that's the path for you, or just pivoting later, moving later. Like, I made a move at 37 and I'd like to go to California for the first time, whatever it might be. At the same time, I think what's also scary about that is that with so much opportunity, right, and so many different options now that we have, that maybe, you know, our mothers, our friends, women we've grown up with did not have even just some years ago, presents just a lot of different paths. And so it's kind of, it can be sometimes like decision paralysis to decide what you should do. But I think that's exciting at the same time. It allows you a lot of flexibility. I was actually talking to a friend about this the other day, and she went on this incredible Australian trip, came back and is now living, close to where she used to live. And she's like, I'd like to, go somewhere new again. And I was thinking to myself, like, go do it. Like, that's actually the point of your 20s and 30s, is to sort of just figure out what path makes sense for you. And I think that wasn't allowed, for us many years ago. And so now that we have this option, it's like, take advantage that it's becoming more normalized, that people are advocating for this, that there's just more flexibility to do it. In the world of work, and how we make money, and how our friends support us, and how our family sees us, and what we're seeing on social media too. I mean, it's kind of like, if you see it, you can believe it. And I think that we're seeing a lot of, specifically women, feel very empowered, much, not so much later in life, but just later in life, post 20s, showing you that you can start over, change, make a new decision, change your mind many different times throughout the course of your life. So anyone who's turning 30, it's like, just the world is your oyster. I mean, there's just, and everything that you're doing, I would say, in your 30s, if you're really reflecting, and that's a big part of it, is like, it's done so much deeper and more meaningful, I think. I think all of the decisions that I've made in my 30s have been much more meaningful. And it's kind of like, I want to live my 30s for the rest of my life. But I know that there are so many more beautiful phases to come. But I think it's not I get the fear. I understand it. And we'll talk more about getting over the fear. But there's also so much opportunity, and both can coexist. You can be really scared about entering your 30s and also really excited. That was where I was when I turned 30. I was really scared and also very much looking forward to a new decade to like reinvent myself.
I like that. I think that was me as well. Maybe like early in my 20s, the thought of turning 30 was like, oh my God, that's so old. But as I got closer to it, I was actually excited because I started seeing more things in the media. I feel like media representation is so important. And even the different perspectives we see from social media, because then watching shows, I was like, wow, they actually have a great time. Like, I can't wait to turn 30s. I felt like women in their 30s are so much prettier, beautiful, confident. So I think also the media and how they represent getting, or how they showcase what getting older looks like is also a big part in how women feel about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's like 13 going on 30.
Yeah.
When I watched
Oh my
that
God,
movie,
yes, that's the best PR.
It's the best PR for turning 30. I mean, I really thought my life was going to be like that at 30. It was not. But, great representation back then that we didn't even know.
Right.
I mean, like 30 looked sexy and fun and exciting. And, you had a cute boyfriend and your Manhattan apartment and your great job and you had fun friends. I mean, it looked wonderful.
Yeah.
And it can be that. But it can also be, hard too. I think where my representation comes from is actually from my mother and her going through a divorce in her 50s and then really rebuilding her life. I mean, 20 years post 30. And when I saw her do that and was able to stand up for herself, advocate for herself, buy her own home, get a great paying job in her 50s, now she's in her 60s and still has that job, that sort of proved to me like, oh, the timeline is long. Yeah. We have a long timeline. We have a long runway. Like, I know people say life is short, but life is long. There's a lot of opportunity to start over. It's not even just in your 30s. And I think that, that's not to say that I don't face the, the ageism or just like the fear of like, oh my God, I'm getting older. That's still there, of course. But I think when you really are able to see examples, like you said, in media and in TV, there's back and forth between whether social media is toxic or
a lot of back and
empowering.
Forth. Yeah.
And I can definitely advocate for both. But I would say, especially in the 30s areas, like when you see women doing that, it makes you feel much better about this age.
Yeah.
And, for me as well, it was just seeing my mother pick herself back up. And so I'm like, I can pick myself back up too.
Yeah.
And I can do it multiple times. And that's what, my 20s and 30s were just getting back up every single time. And feeling really proud of how I applied the lessons differently as I got older and wiser. And it kind of makes me wonder like, wow, if this is what I learned in my 30s, like, I wonder who I'm going to be in my 40s. Like, I'm going to be really smart.
Very smart.
In my 50s, I'm going to be really, really smart. And that's really exciting. I mean, God willing, I get there, but, that's the journey.
Yeah. I like that. Another thing to quickly add just on that representation piece is I saw someone recommending that people actually start following older creators.
Yes.
So I started following on TikTok women in their 40s actually and just seeing how they live their lives. Some of them married, some of them not married, no kids or anything, just seeing the different perspectives. Because I just think, again, adding to your point, it helps you know that life is not over.
Yes.
We're going to get older, God willing, of course, and like you still have a full life to live. So I think it's also that representation, like making sure who you're following on social media is like different age groups and not just like the young 20-something are partying and showing her outfits every weekend.
Yes. Oh, I love that idea. And it was actually something I fought for a long time. Like, I think that when now I'm following that sort of path. So like, I'm also taking that advice in a way. I just started following this woman. She's 37 years old. She lives in LA. She's a fashion creator. And I mean, her outfits, she looks fabulous. I mean, she's so cool. She's like dancing every video. You can tell she's so much different. And it's no shade to women in their 20s, but you can tell she's so much different than a fashion creator in her 20s who's like maybe showing up very, prim and proper and like has like perfect social media aesthetic. She's 37 and she's like, I look amazing. I'm dancing. I look goofy. Like Gen Z would rip her apart on TikTok, but she looks amazing. And I love her confidence and her radiance. And I'm like, I want to be that at 37. Like, I want to be her. And I think for a while I was looking at like 22, maybe married or like 25 married or 27 engaged. And like, that stuff can make you feel bad. And that's so real. It's so normal. Like you're not, I don't like the rhetoric of like, oh my God, you're just so jealous or you're just like, you can't handle that stuff. And it's like, it's just very normal that like, we're not supposed to be inundated with that much social media and insight into people's lives like that every single day. And so like you said, filtering your social media was one of the things that changed my 30s. I stopped following things that just made me feel bad. And now it's like, I follow things that represent who I am too. From like the quotes that I follow to the personal development coaches, to creators. That representation's like really empowering. I feel like you said.
And I think it takes a lot of just knowing yourself and being able to admit that something makes you feel bad. Because like you
Yes.
said, you instantly think like, am I being jealous? Am I being a hater because I don't want to see this? But I think it's like, hey, like, how do I feel? Like, just start to ask yourself when you're scrolling through your timeline, how did I feel after seeing this video? How did I feel after
Yes.
seeing this person's story? And if it honestly doesn't make you feel good, there's nothing wrong, no shame in muting or unfollowing or doing anything.
No
It doesn't make you
shame.
jealous. It doesn't make you a hater, I should say. And because I feel like you shouldn't feel bad after going through social media. It should be like, like sometimes it really puts people in a negative headspace. Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree. It put me in a negative headspace for a long time.
Mm.
And I think I tried to be like, oh, Amanda, you're just really weak. Like, I think when I was in my 20s, I used to make myself feel bad that I
Mm.
couldn't handle it. Even from like people who just like lived in places that I wanted to live. And I just
Yeah.
knew at the time, like, I can't afford
Yeah.
that. Or like, I can't live there.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to. I'd love to travel the world. And that's not to say like, I don't follow content
Yeah.
travelers or anything like that. But it is to say that like, be okay with where you're at and like follow creators with where you're at. I feel like what I do, I feel like you probably do this too, is like I have unfollowed and followed so many different creators throughout the span of my social
Mhm.
media like history. And it's like really important that you do like audits
Yes,
a lot of
audits, yeah.
time. Like just go through your following and you're like, why am I following that person anymore? Like I don't resonate with the mom who's raising 5
Yeah.
kids anymore, like that. Maybe I did when I was 25 and I wanted those
Yeah.
things, but I don't resonate with that anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not my life at the moment.
Mhm.
It could be in future. I never want to cancel it out, but for now it's on mute. It's like, I do want children someday. And so I follow parenting accounts, but some of them I mute because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just not applicable at the
Right
moment.
now. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So you talked about pivoting. I'm also a big fan of a pivot. I am not afraid to change jobs if I need to. I'm not like
Yes.
behold or stuck in the idea of having one specific job or one specific life. Even like picking up and moving to New York a couple years ago, I was like, I want to live in New York. Like, I just want to do it. So,
love
but I
that.
talked to a lot of people and I realized, okay, it's not the norm to be so comfortable with pivoting. I love how you said it could be impulsive because I feel that way too. Sometimes I'm like, am I impulsive? But how do you talk to people or what advice do you have for people who are scared of that pivot or starting over, whether it's changing jobs, switching industries, getting out of a relationship they shouldn't be in anymore, moving cities, or trying a new hobby? Because I think there is also a thing about people too scared to try things at an older age. And it's like, hobbies are not only open to younger people. If you want to try, there are adult ballet classes now. So how do you speak to people who are scared of pivoting or just starting over?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of times when we think about pivoting or like starting over, we make it seem like the examples that we see, and again, this sometimes goes back to like social media can
Yeah.
sometimes be like too much of a distractor. We see like people moving cross country, or we see people like, I'm going to quit. I just quit my job today and I'm going full-time business owner. And you're like, that is impossible for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just quit my job. And that's the extreme side of starting over. And I would say that those people who do that, maybe what they're not telling you is that they've had many reps.
Yes.
They've done this many times. Like, you and I, we've pivoted many times. If someone was like, hey, tomorrow, like, there's a great opportunity if you just quit your job and you move to bubble, we'd be like,
Yeah.
all right,
Okay,
like,
let's do it.
To someone who's never done that, that seems
Right, it's a
huge,
big
right?
jump.
But it's because we've had reps. I would say start with reps. Like start really small. A new hobby, like an online course where maybe you don't have to show up and meet people in person and that's uncomfortable and that's awkward. Like start an online course that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe it's just 4 weeks. Like start a new routine. Maybe wake up in the morning to like a different song, have a priming routine. Maybe it's like go a different way after work, like walk a different way, take a different route the way you're walking, take a different running route. Like I think those little things, just doing little things that are sort of ingrained into your routine differently,
Yeah.
I think pave the path for bigger decisions later on where you're like, okay, I ran a new different like 5 miles the other day. And then the next month I started a new hobby. And then the next month I made a phone call to a friend I haven't spoken to a long time. And then the next month I started a salsa class. And then on the 5th month or 6th month, you're like, this job is no longer serving me. I realized that like I'm okay when I get into uncomfortable situations. Like that 5-mile path that I ran that I've never been running down, I survived. Like it was great. I think that's how you build up to making bigger decisions. they start small. And then it's like Oprah says, like, it's one of my favorite things that she says. It's like over time, like things become a whisper that then turn into like a loud boom and bang over your head. That's like change, do something different. It's like those reps, they're little whispers like that'll eventually start revealing to you like what you should be changing in your life. Like you maybe just running a new running path will eventually reveal maybe I should leave that relationship.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I don't need to live in this place anymore. It's no longer serving me. I hate running the same thing. I'm not inspired by where I live anymore. Maybe I should cut out that habit. So start small and get consistent with it. Like get consistent with being uncomfortable. It's like one of the things that changed my 20s and 30s was now I'm like, I love being uncomfortable. It's still uncomfortable, but like I know I'll survive it because I've done it so many times. It's like the more times that you just deliberately force yourself to get uncomfortable, that's how you get to big pivots later on that really will end up serving you and their risk. But you get comfortable with that risk the more times that you just like put yourself in the arena, essentially.
That's great advice. You're right. Like it starts small. Like don't think you can quit your job immediately if you've never tried anything sort of risky before I pivoted. I love that. So even just, you never think about the small things you can do. I think we're always just conditioned to think big, but it's like you said, switching up your routine or doing something different like that. And then you'll know when you're ready for the bigger thing.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. So what are other rules or reminders that you're particularly passionate about and want women in their 30s to take hold of? So I know like pivoting is a really big thing. So people are like, Amanda's always talking about this. Like this is, here Amanda goes again. What are like your big rules that you're super passionate about letting women know?
Oh, I love that. I think what I would want women to know is that like at the end of the day, this is your life. Like you have to live with your decisions. And while you may think that, you know, your mother cares so much and your cousin cares so much about what you do and your friends do and the world is looking at you, I would say two things is like, no one is really looking. And if they are looking, at the end of the day, you are coming home to you and your decisions. They're not coming home with you and your decisions. So if you are doing things to impress other people, to show up for, to show something to other people, to prove something to other people, you're only doing a disservice to yourself because you're coming home to you at the end of every night. And so I think that when I was in my 20s, you know, a lot of what I did was very performative. And it was not me. I mean, to the point where like even things like drinking, like, you know, to fit into environments. And then the next day having like more of like an anxiety hangover because I was like, what did I say that wasn't me? And I feel bad. And I was trying to show up and that's just not me. To, you know, maybe being in relationships that weren't me, to staying in jobs that weren't me, to friendships that weren't me. And, you know, I think, you know, my mom has played a big part in just allowing me to be myself and not making me feel guilty about decisions that I've made, whether it was leaving a relationship or leaving a job or starting a new career path or just questioning how we do this life. I want women to understand that they own their lives and no one owns it but them. And like it's sort of it's an empowering feeling when you know, like, this is on me. The decisions that I make are on me. And if I can just sort of release expectations from other people, it allows you to just sort of move freely and be confident in the decisions that you make. So, you know, I would say owning your decisions is huge. And I don't think people really care that much about what we're doing at the end of the day. You know, I also think people are really empowered and inspired by people who think for themselves. And the more that you can do that as a woman, I mean, it sets you up for so much success. I'd also say too, and this is like probably a little controversial, but like women delay things, like delay big moments that you think that you have to happen in your 20s because you grow so much as a woman. I kind of say like Matchmaker Maria, she's just Matchmaker.
Oh, I follow her.
I love her.
She's great.
She's great. She said something the other day and she was just like, don't get married before 27. That was, hopefully I'm not misquoting her, but she was basically saying that. And the reason why she said that is because she was like, you don't know, like, especially for a woman, like you evolve so much. And if you give yourself a lot of time to evolve, you'll realize you want different things. And so if you kind of I wouldn't say trap yourself,
Yeah.
but if you stay stuck in decisions that you made at 22, and then at 25, you're like, and then you're stuck in that decision at 25. And then by 27 and 30, you're like, wow, this isn't me anymore. But what do I do?
Yeah.
How do I pivot from here? It's much harder maybe if you got married or had kids, whatever it might be. That's not to say that those things are wrong. It's just to say that give yourself some time to
Yeah.
evolve. If you're in a serious relationship, like you can stay in that, but give yourself time to evolve
I
through
agree.
it. If you want to have kids, great. Maybe delay it for just a little bit of time to give yourself time to evolve to be the mother you'd like to be. And so, that would be my advice to women is like delay some of those big moments. Give yourself space to grow and figure out your life, because most likely what you wanted at 22 probably is not what you want at 30. And if it is what you want at 30, it's just going to be even better because you have way more knowledge and wisdom. So it's like, what's the big deal if you did it at 22 or 30? There really isn't much of a difference. You're just smarter. You probably have a bit more resources. You maybe have a better community, you have a better sense of self. I think that when women make decisions later on in life, they make better decisions for themselves. They don't get trapped into big decisions as easily, from career to marriage to children to whatever it might be. It's sort of like postpone those things just for a little bit and let life reveal itself to you. Like let your personality reveal itself. Let your needs reveal themselves. Even things like the relationship that I was in at 23 is not the relationship I wanted to be in. I mean, we can all say that, right? But sometimes we get stuck in those relationships for many years. And as pivoters, we're like, no way, we would never do that. I was always like leaving. But and no shade to those men, but I was just so comfortable with it because I was like, I'm not going to stay stuck where I don't want to be. But many women do.
Yes.
Out of fear of starting over, fear of being like, oh my God, I'm going to start dating at 30.
Exactly.
Like, that's crazy. It's like not crazy. It's like you're dating with more knowledge, experience. You didn't get trapped where maybe you thought you were in those, in your early 20s. So delay those big moments. And I think life will really reveal itself to you. And you may want something different. And you'll be really happy that you gave yourself time to realize that. It was just a couple more years. And it's a long life. Like you have time. You have time to delay some things.
That's a big one. I love that. As you were talking, I was just thinking of all the quotes I'm about to pull out of that. There's just like so many gems. I don't even think that's controversial. I guess people always find something controversial, but I am also not a fan of the early marriages or the young. I'm like, wait, just wait as long as you can. There's no rush. Because I just even think about myself and how I was at 24 and now, and I feel like it's such a difference. Like you mature, like your idea of self changes, just so many different things. So I'm just like, why wouldn't you wait? But then it's almost like they don't want to listen because they're that age and, you think you know everything.
Oh,
and it's like, I know myself, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you really don't. Just give yourself a few years and you'll see what we're talking about. But I love that. That's a great one. And you talked a lot about sort of things you used to think about in your 20s versus now. Are there any other sort of changes you've noticed in yourself from your 20s to now? I think like one of mine was I used to hate going out to places by myself, which I still do now, but now I don't. I'm more comfortable going out solo. So if there's really an event I want to go to and I can't find anyone else to go, or I want to try a restaurant, or I've gone on trips before by myself, I'm just going to go. Whereas before, I would literally want to crawl out of my skin. I'll be like, I do not want to be here by myself. So that's one of the things that I feel like my confidence has gotten better. So just was wondering for you if there are any things you've noticed that personality-wise.
I love that. I think going out solo as a woman is like, it's such a great feeling. And it can be like, you can go out to dinner, or you can also just go to a coffee shop, like where it doesn't feel as like crazy to go, go out by yourself. I think for me, I like myself a lot more. Like at the end of the day, obviously I want to meet someone, and that's something, those are things that, I'm sure we all want. But I sort of say to myself, well, if I didn't meet anybody in this lifetime, if I did not get married, if I had children a different way or something like that, but if I didn't meet someone and I just had me my entire life, not talking about like community, family, things like that. If I just had me until the end of my life, like, would I be happy? And I'm like, yeah, I really like myself. Like I could go home to me every night and I'd be like, I really like this girl.
That's amazing.
Like she's really cool. Like I like spending time with her. And I like how she evolves. Like it's kind of like going back to Zoe Saldana. I don't know if you've seen where she's like, I like me. I like how I make my mistakes. I like my life. Like that's like I feel like I've gotten to that point. And it's through a lot of trial and error. And this is what I mean. Like, I can't wait to see how I feel about me when I'm 40. And I've been through it again and again. And I'm like, wow, I really love me now. But I really like me. Like, I say it to myself sometimes in the mirror and I'm like, I like you. Like, you're cool. Like, I like spending time with you. Like, I like when we watch movies and we're like, that girl is ridiculous. Like, I like being around me.
Yeah.
And that's something that I did not like in my 20s. When I would do things that maybe I wasn't proud of or do things that didn't feel like me, I just would sometimes be like, I don't like that version of yourself. And I don't like how you showed up that way. And I would sometimes feel shameful or just regret that I didn't show up the way I wanted to. And now I'm like, well, I was learning and I've made mistakes. And I like so many years later, I like how I have feel like I've approached life. I like my thought process. I like how I take care of my family. I like how I show up at a job. I like how I think about the world. Like, I like how I cry over a certain thing. I think that's the biggest thing that has changed is that if I had me until the end of my days, I think I would be okay.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean I'd be like, oh my God, like euphoric. I don't know if I'd be euphoric with a husband, anyway. But I think that I would be like, that would be okay.
How did you get to that point? Because I think it's one thing when people tell you just wait, like when you're older, it would naturally happen. But what are some actionable tips, I guess, for anyone that struggles with self-esteem or self-love? Because I don't know how to explain it when I see people sort of struggle with that. Because for me, my mom is a very confident person.
Yeah.
So, and put a lot of that, positive affirmations, just a lot of that. So even I just naturally have that as well, just liking my own company and liking myself even through mistakes. But for people who maybe struggle with that and just don't see themselves like that, sometimes I try to tell people when your best friend makes a mistake or complains to you about something, you encourage her and you affirm her.
Yes.
You're your own best friend. Talk to yourself like that. But what are things people can do who are actively trying to build up that self-love?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, what I started to do a lot in my 20s was I got really quiet. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be alone all the time, but you have to make intentional time to get quiet with yourself. Do you like yourself when you're not out and running about and running around with your friends and going to work and, you're out at a party and you're talking with this person and, whatever it might be. And you look great on a night out, whatever it might be. When you are home and you're on your couch and you're in your pajamas, no makeup on, and you're sitting in the quiet with yourself, what is coming to mind? What are the thoughts that are there? Can you sit with yourself for more than 5 minutes? And I don't mean meditation or anything like that. Just can you sit with yourself? Can you put your hands in your lap and just be like, am I comfortable with me? And I think I did that a lot of times, again, reps, just reps in my 20s of just I would be home maybe on a Saturday night when I feel everybody is out. They're out with their boyfriends. They're out on fun dates. They're drinking. They're having a great time. And I was just I'm going to stay home with me and I'm going to see how I show up with me. And I'm going to watch the shows I want to watch. And I'm going to read the books I want to read. And I'm not going to feel ashamed that I want to stay in on a Saturday night instead of going out. I still love going out, but I like to do both. I think the more times that you can sit with yourself, the more decisions that you make for yourself that feel like you. I felt in my 20s, again, I was being performative. Maybe I would overdrink because I felt uncomfortable in an environment. Now I'm if I know I feel uncomfortable, I drink one drink and that's it.
And that's it.
And so, things like that is how do you also honor yourself every day? Keep promises to yourself. If you say, I'm not going to do that habit anymore, I'm not going to talk to that person anymore, I'm not going to talk to that guy who ghosted me and I'm not going to reach out to anymore. In each day that you see that you didn't reach out to him and you didn't, play by his rules and his tricks and whatever, you're I'm really proud. I'm really proud of me. It's build up stacks of being proud of yourself, build up moments of silence with yourself. And also little things I put a baby picture of myself in my bathroom and I look at her every time. I'm man, I'm going to curse, but I fucked up.
That's okay.
And I look at her and I'm it's okay. I would not, get mad at a kid. You're just learning. Yeah. We are all on this earth once. It's we are just all learning. And I think I've learned how to forgive myself. by looking at her. I've learned how to like self-soothe. Like I
Mm.
sometimes hug myself or touch myself when I'm feeling like really overwhelmed or like I want to cry or like something someone did hurt me or I hurt myself, you know, by just some things I do. I've just learned how to kind of, you know, be like, I've got you.
Yeah.
Like, and the more that you can just like be very fluid and comfortable with yourself and know yourself, that's how you sort of get to a place where like, that doesn't mean I'm necessarily like the most confident person.
Mm-hmm.
I just like accept me for who I am.
Accept you. Yes. I
And
love
that's
that.
really it.
That's great. Thank you for that advice. So hopefully anyone listening who struggles with self-love can try. I love the baby picture on the bathroom mirror. I need to try that.
Little steps.
So you touched on discipline a little bit, and I know we had an amazing conversation last week where you just talked about the sacrifice and dedication it takes to reach your goals, especially when you're working a full-time job.
Yeah.
So one of the things you mentioned was like deprioritizing travel this year, for example.
Mhm.
Can you talk more about what it takes to reach your goals, especially when you're balancing a job?
Oh, yeah. Again, going back to social media and what we see, and I fell into this trap many times. Sometimes I still do, where it's like, you know, you see someone who like has the perfect boyfriend and all the perfect outfits and perfect makeup and hair, and they're traveling and they somehow have a job and they have great friends and they seem super happy and like sort of expect that like that's not normal.
Yeah.
Like that's not normal. And a lot of times I think Michelle Obama has said this or like Sarah Blakely has said this, like you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. And so I very much like have internalized that in my life. And I don't think that necessarily should make you sad. It just means that like, I also don't think that like we want to have it all. I think we need some sort of like, roughness,
Yeah.
some sort of like push and pull in our lives. I think that's actually what makes life exciting. And so, you know, I was telling you that like this year I'm really focused on this account and I'm really focused on my job and I really want to build wealth. And that means like I can't travel. I'm not going to have flashy pictures on Instagram of me going places. And that sucks. And that may last for like a couple of years. Like maybe I'll just take a local trip, but like I'm not going to Europe. I'm not going to Italy. I'm not going to Thailand. I would love to, but like it's just that can't all happen at once. I think what I would also say too is like what matters to you. Somebody said was like years ago sort of made me feel bad because they were like, and again, when I didn't know myself, and they were like, oh, like, but you know, you don't travel, like, you know, but you're gonna, like, it doesn't seem fun. Like, what fun do you have in your life then if you're not traveling? And I was like, but my fun is like building this account. My fun is like working. My fun is like saving money
Exactly,
and
yes.
like maybe buying something someday or investing in a business someday or buying a business someday. Like, that's my idea of fun. Like, you're not going to make me feel bad about what
Exactly.
I think is my fun. So like, that also goes back to knowing yourself. Like if I look at that girl's life that I'm talking about on social media that has like the beautiful picturesque life, like I don't really know if I want that. Like I actually like the grind. I like knowing that like there's something in the future that I'm trying to reach and like fight for. And that's how I like to live my life. And so like the more that you understand what you want, you get comfortable with the trade-offs. Even things like, oh, I can't date right now because on my weekends I film content, or on my weekends I work a second job to afford, a house down payment in the future. Like keep the end goal in mind, create timelines for yourself, or even just like 6 months until, like, I have Post-its all over my fridge that are like, by November, blah, 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 I'm going to do this. By January 12th, 2026, I will do this. And that also reminds me, like, like the other part I would say is all stages will come to an end. Like you sacrificing will come to an end, whether you're paying off credit card debt, whether you are starting, trying to save for something, you're putting off something, like it will come to an end and then you get to your next one. So like reminding yourself of that is like really key. It's not for forever.
Yeah.
And again, there's time. Like there will be time for me to go to France.
Yeah,
There will
do
be
everything.
time for me to go to Thailand, and like there will be time for it. Again, this life is long. We're not supposed to accomplish everything in our 20s. Like that sounds really boring, actually.
That's a good point.
Like that, I don't want to finish it all.
Yeah.
Like imagine if I just finished it all, like I'd be like, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
I think when you think about long, expansive, bold lives, I mean, these were series of decisions and sacrifices and moments and failures and triumphs over many years. And I think that like what, I struggle with this too, but like our generation sometimes struggles with, like millennials and Gen Z, is like they're not looking at like the full span of life. They're looking at this like very short period.
Like right
and
now.
Right now. And if you can't fit in everything into this short little period of marriage, kids, travel, the big business, the $1 million home, like if you can't fit it all into that, I've failed. And it's like, no, like it wasn't all supposed to happen all at once.
Yeah.
That actually sounds really boring. I don't think we all be satisfied if we had it all within a 5-year window.
Yeah.
Having it sort of like spanned out is a very beautiful thing. The last thing I'll say to that, my mom always used to tell me about, I think it's a Stanford experiment where they give like a kid it's called the marshmallow experiment.
Okay, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah. And basically like they were saying that like if you give a kid a marshmallow, you're like, do you want it now or do you want it later? And it's like the kid who wants it now is like very much like, they need instant sort of like maybe gratification or need instant, but the person or the kid who's like, no, I'll wait 2 minutes. And it really just proves like the longer you wait for things, the more you appreciate things as well. Sometimes I'm like, I would have never appreciated marriage in my 20s.
Yeah.
I think I would really appreciate it in my 30s. I think I would really appreciate it in my 40s. I could have not appreciated kids in my 20s.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would appreciate kids differently in my 30s with more resources, more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding of maybe the mother I'd like to show up as. There's beauty in waiting.
Yeah.
There really is.
I like that, the beauty in waiting. And I think also, I feel like for people who I've seen online in media who get everything at such a young age, the negative to that is then you struggle with that what now feeling, which I think is really rough to sort of overcome because you've had the big job, you've bought the houses, you have the money, you travel, and it's like you're 26. And it's like, what next? And they really struggle. A lot of them fall into depression or things like that because it's like you're constantly chasing that high. And then what happens if you've crossed every single box on that list? So that's what I started telling myself. I'm like, I want things spread out over my life.
Yeah.
I don't need to have everything right in this moment because I just feel like dealing with that what now feeling I've already done everything is really hard to sort of overcome that sort of situation mindset.
Yes.
Awesome. So I don't know what your experience with like friendships has been like, especially moving from 20s to 30s. Because like you said, we all are in different stages now. A lot of us are not living in the same city. Like, college, you lived with your best friends. You saw them all the time. And then now everyone's spread all over the place. And then if they're married with kids, that's also different. So something I'm experiencing personally is that all my best friends are like moms with kids and stuff who are there for me, supportive. None of them are in New York. But then I start feeling like isolated because I feel like I'm trying to strive for this thing, like build my podcast, build my content, do all of that. And it's like, I don't really have anyone else that's going through the same thing, like trying to chase this goal that seems unattainable sometimes. How do you deal with that as you're building your community? Do you have other friends that maybe it's not social, but some other sort of dream that's not like traditional? Do you feel isolated? How have your conversations with your friends changed over the years?
Yes. I think I have met many different friends throughout different stages of my life. And that's the key is like, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I made friends in middle school or I made friends in college. And these are friends that have followed me throughout my entire life and we're still friends. But now we're in different stages and I don't know what to do because we can't see eye to eye or we're just evolving differently. Doesn't mean you have to stop the friendship. It just means like now you have to search for new friends who are in those different phases of life. It's kind of like, I would say, new parents, right? And maybe like, we think about maybe, our friends are getting married. But then I also sometimes think about like new parents who are like, oh yeah, I want to go out and I want to have a great time. And then they're like hanging out with their single friends who can stay out till 2 a.m. and they can't, you need to find people within your phase, your stage of life who can, understand what you're going through. It's so important. And so if you are single, if you are a business owner, if you are trying to start something, find your people in that group. It doesn't mean you have to leave your old friends. Like I also have, 3 of my very good friends are married. One of them is pregnant. One of them has a child. And that's not to say we aren't friends anymore. would I say our friendship has changed? Sure. And like they have found friends within their phases of life. And so you should do the same thing too. And so I would say a lot of the friends that I would say have maybe different conversations with, or just maybe deeper conversations with at this stage of my life, are friends who are single in their 30s, also trying to just figure out their lives and explore new things. And we have conversations and I don't feel like an other. And so that's the really important part, is like find people in your stage of life. And that's not to say that's easy.
I was just going to say, because people always ask, how do I make friends? I'm in my 30s. I'm not in college. How are people making friends?
Be open to like exposing yourself. Exposure is everything. I don't mean like, literally expose yourself. What I mean is like when you're sort of like open to the universe, and let's say you're at a coffee shop, you go by yourself, right? Maybe Mondays and Fridays, I'm going to go to a coffee shop and I'm just going to work from there from those 2 days. And maybe I'll meet someone. And on Saturday, I'm going to take a dance class. And on Sunday, I'm going to do this. I mean, it's intentional work. Like I remember when I was trying to make friends in my late 20s, early 30s, because I was realizing the same thing. I was like, wow, like I have no friends in this stage of my life. Like they're all getting married or they're engaged at that time. I went on Bumble BFF. I had like tons of like just like group dates. I went to networking events. I went to dance classes. I went to like local farmers markets. I mean, I did everything. And I met some really interesting women that way. And it was a lot of fun. So it's like, find people where you're at. That's not to say like all those friendships have lasted, but it is to say that it made me feel not alone. I was like, oh, people like you exist. Again, seeing is believing, like what we were talking about before. It just made me realize like, oh, you're also 30-something and you're single and you're like, you have a really great job and you're like single, 30 and flirting. Like, that made me feel really good about myself to know that people like that existed. I sort of only thought like, oh, I was only seeing my friends who were getting married and getting engaged, and that I thought that was all that existed. Even though I knew that like, no, there's no way everybody's just doing that. I just hadn't met them yet. So
that makes sense. Okay, I love that. So it's still possible to make friends.
Oh, yeah.
And I like what you said about exposing yourself, because I think obviously when we're younger in the school environment, it's not cool to tell people you want to be their friend or you're looking for friends. But I feel like when you're older, that's something, like when you meet someone, like you said, and they seem nice or whatever, you've been seeing the same person, you just meet someone, it's like, hey, like, do you want to get a coffee? Do you want to get a lunch? I'm trying to meet people, like actually voicing that out, because people don't know until you say something. Either they have their own friends and they're not really looking, so they don't even think. We're not in that phase where people think to just like invite you places and stuff. So next time you see someone, like introduce yourself, tell them you're looking to meet people. Like when next time you guys do this, like I would love to come with you. Like actually having to put yourself out there.
It's such a great point, like about being vulnerable as well. Like that's something I still struggle with it, is like being like, hey, or just like, I really miss you as a friend. Like something that I would also encourage, like if you are, struggling with, your current friendships and you feel like you're in different phases, like sometimes having honest conversations with your friends, like, hey, I really miss you. Like, I know you're a new mom and like, I'm not trying to say like, take it away from your baby, but like, how can we meet each other halfway? Or, how can we both feel like appreciated in this relationship? Like we forget that friendships can also kind of be treated as like romantic relationships.
It is, definitely.
That way you can have those same conversations that you're having with your partner, like with your friends.
I agree.
Like, what's your love language? How can I show up for you in this period? How can I show up for you as a new mom? And how can you show up for me as someone who is in her 30s and like maybe I'm moving and I'm going to feel really lonely when I move to this new place? Like, can you send me a card every month and just check in with me? Like maybe that's all we need to feel like we have community still. So, I used to be an advocate of like just ditching all your friends and being like, like forget them. Like they're not seeing eye to eye. Like, and then I sort of realized like life is nuanced and you can't always do that. And it's not always necessary. Like people will evolve. You might be in that new mom phase 7 years later. And then you'll be reaching out to them and being like, oh, now we're all here. We're back here. So it's like sometimes like, the world comes full circle a lot of times in friendships too. So, I'm not saying, if someone's obviously not treating you right, you can leave, but it's nuanced as well.
It is nuanced, and a lot of things can be fixed from just a conversation. So like you said, like new mom, we definitely understand, even though I have a whole spiel about how moms sometimes use that as an excuse to be shitty friends, but that's a whole other podcast episode. But yeah, like voice that out. Like, I know I can't like just call you any time of the day, but like when you have downtime, when's a good time? Like, I'd love to catch up quickly and just like having that conversation. So a lot of times it's not like that situation where it's a friend that you just don't want to be around anymore because you don't like how they make you feel. But it's just a situation like a romantic relationship where it's like, hey, I'm not this, we need to fix something here.
Exactly.
So the conversation is really key. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you share a lot of personal stories on your page. How did you get comfortable like with the idea of coming on Instagram, talking directly to the camera, and just like sharing? And do you think that really played a part into growing your community? You have over 130,000 followers on Instagram, which is amazing.
Thank you.
How did you have a specific strategy when thinking of how to grow your community?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, I would say when I first started and I was like, you know, I'm 30 something, I'm single, I don't have kids, I'm not married, and I'm just sharing my life. Like, it's really embarrassing, especially because, you know, like extended family was following me, and you know, I'm Dominican and I come from, you know, I'm Latina, and so like that's not just not that that's to say that that's unheard of that you were in your 30s and single, but it's, you know, you get a little bit of sort of like, what is she going to do with her life? Is she going to end up with cats all day? Like, you know, and it's hard to break that stigma, right? And so I actually feel like I was more embarrassed by like close friends and family seeing it than I actually was strangers on the internet that I had no idea about. I felt more empowered that like, I hope my story helps other women feel seen. Like, that was all I started with. And I think like when you have a bigger purpose, it sort of drowns out like, oh gosh, like my friend from college that like, I don't know, whatever she's doing right now is going to see me on Instagram. Like, that drowned out all of that. And again, reps, like the more I did it, like the more I just challenged myself, like just show up, get uncomfortable, get really, really uncomfortable. I knew that, again, because I've put in so many reps of getting uncomfortable, I knew that if I just continued to do it, I would get over the hump and I would feel really great about coming on here. And, you know, that's what happened. Like I felt like it really sort of like blew up very quickly. And because I making people feel seen and heard and validated is so crucial, especially during this phase of life. I think women are becoming so passionate about creating their own lives and designing their own lives. Like, this is a topic that I think will just blow up even more in the next coming years. And I'm very honored and excited to be a part of it. I think, you know, it was like right timing. It was vulnerability and, you know, reps too. I think there's just such a bigger purpose to it. I think like I have so much to say about when women are empowered through their autonomy, through resources, through money, through their decisions, like we could end world wars. I mean, if more women felt empowered and had more autonomy in their lives and had more resources in their lives, and delayed things, like this entire world would like just like shift. I mean, there would be such a shift, and I feel so passionate about that. And I think a lot of it starts like in your 30s when you, and that's why I'm saying like sometimes I'm like, just wait until you turn 30 and then figure out the rest of your life. Like, treat your 20s as some like just an experiment. You know, I'm not saying go wild, but like treat your 20s as an experiment, and then in your 30s lock in. And then take it from there. And you've got a long time to change this whole world. And if more women did that, oh my gosh, like I just...
World wars will end.
They really would. They really would.
How do you see your community evolving? 'Cause when people are turning 40s, 50s, like are you thinking that far if you're going to keep it as for women in 20s and 30s, or will you evolve it as you get older as well?
You know, I feel like I've made so many plans for myself in my life that I'm like... Who knows?
Who knows? One day at a time.
You know, I like, again, going back to, I think if you would have asked me at 25 who I thought I was going to be, and then like, you know, years later, I'm like, it's so different than what I expected. And I love it. And it's really interesting. But I do think that I really love talking to people in their 20s and 30s. I think it's a really special age for women. I think that there is just sort of like magical shift, and you can call it like, what do they call it? Like Saturn return.
Yes,
like
Saturn. Oh, I had that. Yeah.
Yes. And so like you could call it like whether or not you believe in like astrology and things like that. But like, I do believe that there is this like major shift that happens for women between their like late 20s, early 30s. And it's a topic I just love talking about. And I think it's a shift that will carry on for a very long time. Like if I can help women master that period of time or just openly talk about that period of time, it's something that I want to be a part of, and a part of the conversation, and hope to create resources and community and build something big around that time period. Because there's just this shift that I think if women waited and like they
You're
would
like,
see,
wait.
just wait. But I just love talking to women in their 20s and 30s, people in their 20s and 30s. It's such a special time. I may feel differently when I hit my 40s. You know, I've heard your 40s are even better than your 30s.
I know. I was going to be like, I'm not, the 40s PR, I'm not hearing much about it. I'm like, what? I haven't, 30s I heard a lot. I'm just waiting to see 40s, what that's like. So that's why I started following the 40 plus creators.
I love that idea.
But yeah, I'm trying to see what to expect because I have no idea. No one's really talking about it. I'm like, where are the 40 plus year old women?
Exactly. No. And you know, it's all ages. And I think that, and this is what I mean, like, I think that as this conversation keeps evolving of like modern womanhood and just like, I don't even say modern womanhood, just like women owning their lives now, and becoming more autonomous. Like, I think that we will see more 40 plus creators come on. I think we'll see more 50 plus creators come on. I think we'll see more women who, you know, chose not to have children.
Yes, been seeing a lot of
and
that.
seeing like them in their 60s and how did they build their lives? Like, you know, you can talk about a woman who's maybe, you know, not having kids in her 30s, but we often wonder like, well, what does that look like?
At 50, are they going to regret it? Like, how do they feel?
Yeah. I think as time goes on, we will see so much more of those stories and content and books being written and you know, documentaries or just like films, representation. So, you know, it's just a conversation that I feel, but I think it starts in your 20s and 30s.
Okay.
And I want to, you know, be a part of that for as long as possible.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. So building an online community is a lot of work. The constant filming, editing, like you said, being focused on your goals, and you have a job. I love to like find out what people do for self-care. Like, how do you decompress? Especially for me, like, because I create content, I got to the point where just being on my phone just became very stressful. Yeah. So I actually started getting bad at responding to texts because by the time I've been filming and editing all day, I just don't want to have my phone with me. I just need to watch TV and just not talk to anyone. So what are ways that you decompress or like do for self-care?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's two things I do. Well, I just like I take certain things off my plate. Like I know, you know, hey, I can't go out with my friends as often anymore these days because I work a pretty demanding full-time job and I have content creation. And so that it's not necessarily decompressor. It's just like taking things off your plate. Like you can't do it all. You can't have it all at the same time. And it's sort of like conversations like I have with my friends and I'm like, I'll show up for you in 6 months. Like I'll be there in 6 months and I'm so sorry. And my friends are watching this and like, oh my God, like again. But you know, those are ways I would say I decompress or just deprioritize other things. And I think when you're, you know, building something, or let's say like you're a new mom or you're newly married or you're starting a new business or you have a new career, like some things will have to take a back seat. I think that's also like talking about friendships in your 30s is like, I think some of the best friendships are the ones that are like, I heard from you 2 months later. You sent me like a 10-minute voice note apologizing, catching me up in your life. Like, I get it. I think those are the friendships that actually last the span of time. Because like, what we're realizing is like, there's so much going on. And I think that as I have realized that I have a lot of things going on and sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, like I give a lot more people grace for maybe not showing up the way I needed them to show up because I am not showing up the way I need to show up. And my hope is that like we have a strong enough foundation that we can survive this time, like a marriage. Like it's not always up, you know? So those are ways I do that. And then I would also say too, is like when you're in the middle of something big, again, new career, a new family, a new move, whatever it might be, like sometimes it's just a grind and you just got to ride it through. And you got to know, like the other day I was like editing, I filmed a reel at like, 11 o'clock at night because I just had an inspiration for it and was editing until like 2 a.m. and then woke up the next morning at 6 a.m. for work. And I was like, I'm dead. Yeah. But that's what it is when you're building something you're really excited about, you're doing something you're really excited about. I sometimes think like those are the habits, and if that's a whole productivity conversation and like more like a success conversation. But I think that you also have to understand that like there will be sprints in your life. And these sprints, you may not sleep, You may be really exhausted. You may not have time for friends. You may not have time for like a beautiful gym routine where you're waking up, you get to meditate in the morning. And like, I don't have any of that right now. Like, that's just not even, I don't meditate. I don't have a journal. I wish I did. I just don't have the time for those things. Like, you know, I don't even really go out to dinner because like, I like to save money by cooking a lot of my meals at home. That will come in future. Like, I know it will. I know like I will be going out to dinner when I want to in future. It's just not a priority on my list right now. This is the grind. And this is like, you know, what I want to make time for. And it will end. And the grind doesn't last forever. You know, it might last for a long time. Like Scott Galloway says this best. Like, I was watching a reel of his the other day and he was saying, he was like, get comfortable with just like knowing that like sometimes it's just gonna suck.
Okay.
You know, like, and again, it goes back to like we see on social media, like everything is so beautiful. And I think we're getting better at being vulnerable at social media and like showing like, you know,
the nitty gritty and just like
showing the nitty gritty. But, you know, I would say, you know, if you're doing anything in life, like just get like, it's okay that it sucks. It's not always going to be great. When you're building anything, you're in, you know, you're in the throes of a new marriage, you're in the throes of a new relationship, throes of a new move. Like, it's okay that it sucks. Yeah. Like, you can get through it. Like,
okay, you're speaking to me right now, especially when you say you have to take things off your plate. And that is self-care. I really like that answer because I've started being really stressed out, and like me saying I'm not going to do this anymore makes me feel better. It literally is self-care because you're telling yourself you can't do everything. I don't know if it comes from a scarcity mindset where I feel like I have to work on everything at the same time, because if I don't work on one thing, it's like almost being too scared to put my eggs all in one basket, because like I don't know what is going to work. So I'm like, I need to work on everything and then see what works. But then you don't even give one thing the opportunity to work because you're spread too thin.
Exactly.
So when you say that's speaking to me, like really like taking things off your plate and just like focusing on one thing and being disciplined to stay on that one thing.
Exactly. Like self-care doesn't have to be like bubble baths and like, you know, like journaling. Like, I mean, kudos to people who can do that. But like, it can also just be like, I'm not doing the dishes tonight. Like, those dishes are going to stay in the sink and I will deal with them 2 days later. Who cares? Like, or I'm just not going to clean this weekend. Like, sometimes like, you know, like I used to be like, this is my apartment. Like, no one has to see it but me.
I literally made a video about that. Like, we don't live with our parents anymore.
Exactly.
It's okay.
Yeah. Like, if you're like, I'm not going to spend 6 hours this weekend, like cleaning my apartment because I really want to film content, or I want to build my business, or like, you know, I need to do something for myself, or I just want to sleep in. Like, that's my self-care. Like, you have to just sometimes deprioritize and be like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessary at the moment.
I love that. Deprioritize the self-care. Yeah. All right. I'm so sad that this has been an amazing episode. I'm going to have you back at some point. But the final question I love to ask people is just your one piece of advice for anyone who is trying to make it.
It's not linear. It's not linear. I think something I'm also really proud of myself, like going back to like, oh, I love myself today. Like, I love spending time with her, is I love how if I look back at the past 10 years of my life, I love how like zigzagged it is. I like that through every single zigzag, I have found a way through. I have found a way to reframe the situation. Like, I wanted to be a lawyer. My older brother's a lawyer, you know, went to a great law school, you know, has always had really amazing careers in law. And I was like, I'm going to follow in his footsteps. He's an incredible person. And I studied for the LSAT 3 times. 3 times I didn't get the score I wanted. I was so disappointed. I didn't get into the law school I wanted to get into. And I then went back to like my corporate 9 to 5. And I was like, man, like I failed. Like, I couldn't be the lawyer that he is. I couldn't even like, you know, I didn't understand the LSAT. That was really disappointing for me. That then led me into a really interesting job, which then led me to another interesting job. Like, if I think about it today, I'm like, I did not want to be a lawyer. Like, you know, this is what I feel I really want to be doing, and like working with women this way and talking to women this way. That was a blessing in disguise. And I like how my life has looked through that. But if you think that any path to making it is going to look like step 1, step 2, step 3. Like, mine has looked like step 1, step 2, step 1.5, step 2, step 2.2, step 2.5, step 2. And the more that you sort of like fail, you sort of get comfortable with like, oh yeah, that might fail, but I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep going. So get comfortable with your path not looking linear. Like, I think it's actually a really exciting thing. I love when I hear people who are like, I have tried 15 different things, 3 of them stuck. That's a really, like, those odds are great. Yeah. Like, 3 of them stuck. What if one of them was $1 million idea? Like, great. Like, you only needed 1 to stick at that point. So like enjoy failure, enjoy nonlinear paths. I think they're more fun that way. Like, I think life is exciting when it's a bit gritty. And if you can just like embrace it and just like have fun with it, like when you fall down, like, I took the LSAT like loss so hard at the time. I was even like trying to write a book and like that didn't work out. I had to go back. Like I took a month off to write a book and like thinking I could write a book in a month. Like that's like 25-year-old me.
Right.
And went back to work and I was like, man, I failed. I couldn't write a book in a month. And then I never went back to the book. Like I've tried so many things. I like that part of my life. And I think that the more things we try, the more we actually kind of like ourselves. We see ourselves in much different lights when we're like, I tried this, I tried that. Yeah. She was really happy then. She was really excited. She felt really enthusiastic. Actually, that wasn't what I liked. So nonlinear paths are just key. Like anticipate that the path will be challenging. And that doesn't mean it won't work. It just means like if you can anticipate, it's kind of like stoicism, like anticipate that like it'll be up and it'll be down and it'll be up and it'll be down. And if you can just ride that, like that's your entire life. And that's how you get through a long, good, I think purposeful, meaningful life.
Perfect ending. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on here. That was amazing.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
It was.